Now we're going to take a look in this video at inserting data into a table. And this is kind of one of those tough calls for a database developer because it's tough a lot of times to know when database development stops and database administration or other kinds of programming come in. But for the most part, you're going to be programming data inserts through stored procedures, and we're going to take a look at stored procedures later on in the course in a different video. But for now, I want to show you not only just in general, very basic syntax on inserting data, but I really want to point out and want you to take from this how the importance of your table design impacts how you actually insert and manipulate the data in these tables later on down the road once your database is up and running. So let's look at some basic syntax for inserting data into a table. I've got this basic employees table here, and we have 4 columns: the ID, the first, the last, and the status. Now, I can't tell by looking at this the data types, but I can pretty much guess this is probably a char or a varchar. This is absolutely going to be varchar in these two, and this is most likely varchar. This could have been an integer, but the bottom line is when I insert data, the data type that I'm inserting has to match what's in the column or it's going to throw an error. So look at the syntax here. I will put the word insert into employee. And so I'm saying insert into the table employee these values, and I'm telling it 37, Lauren, Jackson, and certified. Now, since I'm putting these in the order that the columns appear in the table, I can use this syntax. It's no problem. But understand that these inserts are positional. Since this is the first 37, since this is the first item listed, it's going in the first column. If you want to think about it as an index, that's the 0 column. And Lauren is going in the second column, which is called first. This is going to get really confusing, and that is going to be the number 1 column. If you'll think of an index, and if you're working in .NET and data sets that are strongly typed and so forth, your columns will be numbered 0, 1, 2, 3. So without confusing any further, just notice these are positional. They're going to go into the columns in the order that they're listed here, in the order that the columns are in the table. Now, let's look at the next example. What if I'm not going to insert data in every column? And in this example, I'm only going to insert data into the ID, the first, and the last, and I'm not going to do anything with the status column. Well, in that case, I say insert into employee, and I list the columns that I'm going to insert into, put the keyword values, and then I put the data that's going in those columns, and these line up positionally. 37's going in ID, Lauren's going in first, Jackson's going in last. Now, I'm still not out of the woods. When I execute this command, I still might get a problem here. I might get an error thrown because it's going to be determined by how I created my table. If the status column accepts nulls, I'll be okay because it will see, hey, they inserted a new row and they didn't mention this column, so we'll just put a null in there. If this column does not accept nulls and I have to put data in there, I haven't done that in my insert statement, it's going to throw an error. And it's going to say, you know, one of the required column values was not supplied. Now, another thing I can do in my table design is put a default value here that says not certified. And then if I don't mention it, I can just put the keyword default here, and it will put not certified in. So again, those little nuances can really affect how you insert data. Now, one other quick little example here. Notice I can insert these data values in any order that I want to. I just have to let the database know which order I'm using. Notice it says insert into employee ID, and I'm doing the last name, then the first name. Now that's different. My database has it first, last. All I have to do is make sure that I put it in the order, the column list that I want, and then I put these values positionally to match that. 37 goes in ID, Jackson goes in last, Lauren goes in first. One more example here that I want to bring to your attention, and that is I can put multiple rows at once from the one insert statement. And so what I'll do is say insert into employee, list my columns, and we're assuming here this will take nulls. Then I list my values, 37, Lauren, Jackson, and I put those in parentheses. You've noticed those. Put a comma, and then put another row of data here. And I can just keep doing this, and when I execute this one insert statement, both of these rows, 37 and 38, will go into the table, provided no errors get thrown. Now, just to kind of whet your appetite, there's a fine line between this moving from a development course on SQL Server into a Transact SQL course. If you don't know Transact SQL or you're not very familiar with it, then go get the video. There's a video series out there by an excellent author, I might add, called Transact SQL. They'll go through all the SQL language and really help you get up to speed. A lot of things you can do. You can select from another table and put into here. I can use the results of a query to create a new table. A lot of different things I can do, but that's the basics on inserting data. But again, not just the syntax here. I want you to start to understand and think through how the way you design and set up these tables, as far as how they handle nulls, how they handle defaults, identity columns, which we hadn't talked about. Again, it's not a Transact SQL course. All of those are going to affect how you insert data into these tables.